Today we're going to be talking about slope. Now in the last lesson we saw that we had graphs and we can find out where the line is, kind of count the slope, find different points and count up and over or down and over to get our slope. So as a refresher, remember slope is always rise over run. And instead of giving us a graph this time, we're going to be given either a chart or some points to figure this out. So instead of just counting by hand, there's a formula that we're going to be using, and it is this: y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, remember, rise over run is a change. And anytime you're thinking about change, it's always a subtraction problem. Think about it, if I give you money to pay for something, you give me change back, you're subtracting the total amount from how much I'm paying for the cost of the thing I bought. So I'm getting change back, you're subtracting. So you're looking at these y2s, x2s, and all this. This is what we mean by it. We might be given 2 points, like 3, 8, and 5, 2. We're going to call this one point 1. So this 3 is actually the x1. This y is the y1. It goes with the point 1. Here, the 5 and 2 is actually our point number 2. That's why it's x sub 2 and y sub 2. And we would have to subtract these in order to get our slope. We're going to start with a few graphs though, and look at these. Now you might be able to see what it is, what the changes are offhand. And I wanted to make it easy just so you can kind of use the formula to make sure it works out. And if you notice, all the x's go up by 1s. Not all of the charts will go like that. Sometimes it's going to be different. But if we're looking to use this formula, we can pick any of these points to find what our slope is. Let's say, for instance, I'm just going to pick these 2 points right here. This is going to be my point 2. This is point 1. So I'm going to go y sub 2, according to my formula, which is 12, minus my y sub 1, which is 9. The second one, the x sub 2 is 3, and that's a 2. 12 minus 9 we know is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. So my slope, and remember, slope is represented with the letter m, would just be 3. In the second one, let's say we're using these 2 points. This would be my point 2. Again, this is my point 1. My y values, 600 minus 550, 30 minus 29. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We know 600 minus 550 is 50, 30 minus 29 is 1, so the slope here is 50. And you can see this is going up by 50 each time. With this problem, let's use the first 2 this time. Here's my y sub 2, here's my point 2, here's my point 1. So the y values, 74 minus 84 over 15 minus 14. Now remember, 74 minus 84 is a negative 10. Negative numbers matter here. We need to make sure we account for them. We can have a negative change. 15 minus 14 is 1. So our slope here is negative 10. So remember, our slope can be a positive number or a negative number. Okay. Now what if we're given points instead? Now we have to use the 2 points that are given. We're not going to see kind of visually that something's going up or down by a certain amount, which we could have done with those charts. So the first problem we have was 5, 8 is 0.1, 7, 15. 0.1, 0.2. So we start with our y values. That's 0.2, 0.1. So we go 15 minus 8. x sub 2 is 7 minus 5. So again, I'm just going 15 minus 8, 17 minus 5. If you notice, the arrows are going in the same direction. 15 minus 8 is 7. 7 minus 5 is 2. So we have this fraction of 7 over 2. Do not divide it out and make it a decimal. It is best to leave it as a fraction. We cannot reduce this. There's not a number that goes in both 7 and 2. So here's our answer. 7 over 2. Number 2. Our point was 6,4 and point 2 was 310. Again, point 2, point 1. 10 minus 4 and over 3 minus 6. And with this one, we have 10 minus 4, which is a 6. 3 minus 6 is a negative 3. Now, even though the negative's on the bottom, when we write out a fraction, the negative number is usually out front or is associated with the top number, no matter what. If we reduce this, I know 3 goes into 6 and 3 goes into 3, so this just equals negative 2 as our slope. But again, if we ended up with the fraction, usually the number, that negative sign is associated with the top number. Now please pay attention to this number 3. So we're looking at some negative numbers. These negatives, like they have in the past, they can mess with you if you let them. So number 3 was negative 4, comma 5 and 6, comma negative 3. Point 1, point 2. y2 minus y1. So I still have this negative 3 minus my y1. Now we go our x2, which is 6, minus, and again, this number is a negative 4. We have a double negative here. We're always subtracting a difference. So if this is negative, we're going to minus a negative. If we have two negatives, remember this changes to positive numbers. Negative 3 minus 5, and whenever you're dealing with negatives, it might be a good idea to use your calculator just to double check. But negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. 6 plus 4 is 10. And we can reduce this, and we always want to reduce our fractions. Would be negative 4 over 5. And that would be our slope. These negatives are going to be the pitfalls of figuring out your slope. Number 4, you're going to do this on your own when you turn in your notes. So the point was 9 and negative 3. Point 2 was 5, comma 4. Make sure you reduce your fraction. If you need to, make sure you pay attention to the negative signs. So make sure you copy that one down. You need to do that one on your own. Now there's 2 more problems I want to go over. They are special cases that you may run into. Okay, if you need that problem, go back and replay the video. So, problem number 5, 5 comma 6 and 8 comma 6. Problem number 6 is, I forgot what that was. Let's say 4 comma 7 and 4 comma 9. Now looking at this, we still solve this the same way. Point 2, point 1. So we have 6 minus 6 on top, 8 minus 5 on the bottom. When we subtract them out, we end up with 0 over 3. Now, before I answer this, I want to compare it to number 6. With this, we go 9 minus 7, and then the x's are 4 minus 4. We end up with 2 over 0. Now, if you check with your calculator, if you're that diligent, you're going to see that if you go 0 divided by 3, that ends up being 0. Our slope can be 0. If you go 2 divided by 0, you're going to get an error message on your calculator. And that's because in math, it is not possible to divide anything by 0. Now, how we account for this, if this happens, if we ever have 0 on top, our slope is 0. This will be a horizontal line. Okay? There's no change, there's no vertical change in our y values. Our y's do not raise up anything. There's no difference in our y's. With this one, this is called undefined. Can't do it. This will result in a vertical line. Now, one way I remembered it when I was younger, there is a z in horizontal, which means it's 0. Here, undefined and vertical, the u and the v look very similar. And they're close together. Undefined is vertical, 0 is horizontal. Those are a couple of special cases. So to review, here's this review. 4 kinds of slopes. A slope is positive if the line rises from the left to the right. This is kind of going back to the graphs. Negative slopes. Line falls from the left to the right, so it's going down. This one's going that way. 0 slope. It's a horizontal line, there's 0 rise. It's not going up. An example is 0 over 5. The last one, undefined. Vertical line. There's no run. It's going straight up, no run, and there's a 0 on the bottom. And again, I check the calculator to see which one's 0 and which one is undefined.